I've hit record now, so thanks very much. I'll introduce you, hand you over to Larraine. You all know Larraine, so that's fantastic. Enjoy your webinar.
Thanks, Erica, and hi everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm going to share screen, but I'm going to leave my video appearance on so you can still see me and obviously you'll still hear me. So here goes sharing screen, and you should now see the first slide in my PowerPoint. So can you use the chat to let me know if there's any issues? Jules just joined. Hi, Jules. And we'll start. So first of all, a little introduction and recap. You're already familiar with the Zoom webinar learning space, and you know that I'm sharing the screen with you. I've shut the door so that my dogs can't visit. They often appear behind me on the space, the blue space, and but they're not allowed today. There's a few different aspects to this webinar in terms of how you can contribute. There's chat, which you know about, and we're going to try Q&A, which is actually open at the moment. So you can add questions there, and I will either answer them verbally or text, or save them, if they're complex questions, save them until after the webinar and get the questions back to you. So you should be able to look at the bottom of your screen and find a Q&A tab and write some questions in there. And we're going to use chat as a resource, collection point, any ideas or comments that you have. And there'll be 2 polls which I'll launch during the webinar. Okay, so I just wanted to remind you in terms of recap of a diagram that I showed you in the workshop, and those of you who weren't at the workshop, it's also in the tips and tools document. So it was this diagram of efficiency, effectiveness and value for money, and the relationship between inputs and outputs is one of efficiency, maximising output for input. So I'm doing this so that we're all clear about the different terminologies that I'm using. All the outputs are all the busy work that you do to get people into your programs or projects, the marketing, the advertising, the actual sessions that you might be running, etc. And then we're hoping that there's lots of results or outcomes for all that effort that you put in. And the stronger the outcomes, the more effectiveness you can claim. So we're just calling that maximising outcome for output. And then there's a relationship between inputs and outcomes. So the money and the resources that go into the system, you can quantify them as a relationship of value for money, and we try and do as much as we can, get as many bangs for our bucks, if you like, in terms of inputs and outcomes. So you may remember in the workshop I showed you this Loonig cartoon. Here's the plan. and often it looks like that. And what we're trying to do in a monitoring, evaluation, reporting and improvement framework is to try and get a lot clearer about what the plan is, what the project is, if you like, or the program. I use them interchangeably, and get to something a bit more neat and tidy. Of course, life is not like that, but we're going to try our best in this whole world of monitoring, evaluation, reporting and improvement. So we started off in the workshop talking about the current situation and where you want to get to, the needs analysis, if you like. And I know this diagram is very kind of complex. You have a copy of it in the material that we sent out in preparation. So here's your inputs, the activities, the outputs and the outcomes. Inputs and activities are things that we can control. The outcomes are things that we can directly influence, a lot of them, and then there are in the short term, if you like, so up here, and then there are things that we can't really directly influence because there's so much else going on, and so that's the longer term impacts. But we're hoping that the effort that we put in the middle, in that green and orange section, is going to really have a longer term residual impact. So there's the needs here. In terms of evaluation, you might call this early stage and audit. And then in the middle bits, you might have heard the words formative evaluation or process evaluation. So that's looking at the middle stuff, and that's very much monitoring. The information to know that you're actually implementing the program as planned is monitoring. And you'll see here this heading, evaluation types. So there's different terminology for different evaluation types, depending on the stage of project that you're in. And then we get to outcomes evaluation. And that's a particular strategy, and impact evaluation, which is the longer term stuff. And this whole thing is called program evaluation. But this first bit here is monitoring. And then towards the end somewhere, you try and pull it all together in an evaluation report. So in the face-to-face workshop, we drafted program logic, and you went away with lots of coloured post-it notes on some butcher's paper. We looked at understanding program theory and program logic, and then the idea of a theory of change, and the difference between monitoring and evaluation. And we had a very, very quick look at this thing called a MERI. And today we're going to focus on constructing the monitoring, evaluation, reporting and improvement plan so that you can link your program outcomes to systematic data collection and evaluate your sustainability education programs. This is the outline for today. Where did MERIs come from? A bit of the background stuff. How are they being used? What does a typical one look like? And what's the best way of making one? And then a bit of a wrap up. Okay. So if you could use the Q&A function now and just put something in there about what concerns you most about constructing a MERI, if you're concerned. So you need to find that Q&A function and pop some questions in there. Or you might like to use the chat and talk about whether you enjoy evaluation and why, or what thoughts you might have about evaluating your project or program since the workshop. So there's two opportunities to put some information in there, either in the Q&A or in the chat. I'll give you a few minutes. So Kate's saying time. I think you should be able to see each other's Q&A entries. Erica, we're not too sure about this, are we? You can see them in chat. Okay, there's a test from Jem. Can everyone see Jem's test? No. Okay, okay, so Linda has asked, my concern is time and resources allocated to the implementation of the MERI as well. And M. Hale has said, my concern is mainly about quantitative evaluation. What else concerns you? Okay, so Jules, you can't see the test or the question, the Q&A. Okay. So I'll just have to read out those questions. We've only got 2 questions about time and resources and quantitative evaluation. Deb, you've just put a comment in the Q&A that you can't see it either, but you've used the Q&A to write that. That's okay. Click on the Q&A icon and it should become visible. Thanks, Erica. Okay, has anyone got any comments about enjoying evaluation? Jem, you can't see other people's questions when you click on it. The chat is visible, yes. Angus, ensuring the MERI is easy to implement. Okay, so I'll take Linda's question. Time and resources, you do have to be careful because this kind of thing can blow out, but you just manage it within your resources. Yeah, Erica, I'll just answer live, I think. So can people see those coming up? Okay, Andy, you're concerned the Q&A isn't working. Erica, what? Yes. N. Hall, I don't enjoy evaluation. I love planning. Thank you. I have to agree with some of the other concerns already raised, time, resources and building a MERI and making it meaningful for management. Denise, yeah. They are issues and you can get caught up in far too much planning of the evaluation and also wanting to over-evaluate things. So that's where program logic helps. But there is a bit of time, it is time consuming. So you have to be practical. All right, let's move on and you can add any questions. So we also talked last session about evaluating the Mona Lisa, if you like, but that evaluation is a natural part of what we do. And we like to call this evaluative thinking. And this whole idea of the monitoring, evaluation, reporting and improvement is to develop a culture of inquiry and evaluation. And if you remember, I kept saying, please be frank and fearless. Thanks for your comment, Erica. We think it's working now. Good, we're learning. Okay, so where did MERIs come from? A bit of the evaluation profession. Some people call them evaluation plans. Then they started to be called monitoring and evaluation plans, then monitoring, evaluation and reporting plans, and now MERIs. Thanks, Kate. It works when I click the live reply. Excellent. Okay, so I've just sort of mentioned here the different terms that get subsumed under MERI. They're a result of the emergence of the evaluation profession. We've grown, we've developed, and the integration of evaluation practices into that whole implementation process. And one of the big things that we talk about in evaluation is not doing it at the end of the program, but doing it at the beginning of the program. So it's really heartening that this idea has actually become integrated into what you're doing and what so many other people are doing. The Australasian Evaluation Society has been going since 1987. It's a highly regarded international society. I've been a member for over 15 years. And then the development of evaluation and this whole evaluative thinking and monitoring and evaluation plans began in the 1990s in the Australian public sector, if you like. Similar trends have occurred worldwide. There's now an international organisation for cooperation in evaluation, and they list 92 professional evaluation organisations across every continent. And in 2013, when I was researching this whole area for the Sydney Metro Water, my Google search for monitoring and evaluation framework threw up 700,000 results in 35 seconds. So I challenge you to do that one day soon and see if you can outdo me. I would just like to quickly show you another screen. Let's see, how am I going to do this? Okay, stay with me, folks. Okay, so here is the Australasian Evaluation Society website. And here is the International Organisation for Cooperation in Evaluation. You can see all those stars all over the world where there are societies, and they all hold regular conferences. It's a great way to travel the world. We're on South Africa now, the African Evaluation Society, Sweden, Eurasia, anyway, in Turkey, etc. Okay. Sorry, folks, I'm just trying to get back. Oh. Okay, PowerPoint. Good. So, the purpose and benefits of having a MERI, it allows people to learn from past experiences and to improve service delivery, to allocate resources and demonstrate results. And often that's one of the most powerful things, to demonstrate results to key stakeholders by the reports that you write. Depending on the context, stakeholders can include everyone from end users to government agencies, and I really encourage you to engage the stakeholders early on in the process, and you can do that when you're developing your program logic, and we talked about that in the workshop. So a monitoring and evaluation program performance achieves this because it enables the improved management of outputs and outcomes while encouraging allocation of resources. It's just a very useful planning tool. We've talked about monitoring. That's regular systematic collection and analysis of the information as you're within the program delivering it, and the question there is, did we deliver? And then the idea of evaluation is really, well, what has happened as a result? And the impact assessment is, have we made a difference and have we achieved our goal? So different questions at different points in program or project delivery. I think it's an important part of any program and project. There are far too many frameworks and models available, and it's a bit overwhelming and confusing. So I appreciate your concerns and your questions. So one of the key things is to identify the purpose and to clarify why you're doing the monitoring and evaluation. Often this is called key evaluation questions. So we're still on where did MERIs come from, and the New South Wales Government Evaluation Policy and Toolkit is an important development in this area, particularly in New South Wales, and other states and territories have similar things. And you can just Google New South Wales Government Evaluation Policy or evaluation, and you'll see the whole policy and the approach to how New South Wales would like to do it. It's very much a reiteration of what I've been talking about. So that gives you the broad context in which you're working. If you're in local government, as many of you are, or within the Department of Education, all these organisations are bound by the New South Wales government policy. And if you're getting funding from Office of Environment and Heritage, you'll be aware of their monitoring and evaluation approach, and you'll have to justify why your funding project, how your funding project is going to be evaluated. I've spoken about the Australasian Evaluation Society, that's aes.asn.au, and I would encourage you to go along to their conferences. And New South Wales has a very active chapter, and they have regular meetings, and they're very much collaborative information sharing, and of course the international evaluation societies. So what, if anything, has surprised or excited you about what you've just heard? I remember in the workshop, someone said they enjoyed evaluation, and in reply to me saying it's hard to make evaluation sexy. So I'm trying to find out from you if any of this is actually hitting a spot for you. Perhaps you could chat. Okay. I can't see any chats. But there's a question here from Linda. If we have a $50,000 budget, what percentage should be allocated to monitoring, evaluation, reporting, improvement? A rule of thumb in terms of evaluation is that 10% of the budget should be allocated to actually paying for an evaluation project. That's a little bit different to doing a MERI. A MERI does take time. I can't say definitively what percentage. So that's there. Okay. Erica, evaluation has helped you to answer the question that used to keep you awake at night. Is my EnviroEd project making a difference? Thanks, Erica. Table framework presented makes the overall process clear and an allocation of terms relating to the process. Thank you. I'm not sure who that is. MQ? Perhaps you could tell me your name. Okay. Jules, you can now see everyone's Q&A. Fantastic. Great. Okay. So please feel free to add any Q&A questions. Linda, you're going to be checking out the New South Wales Government Policy and Toolkit. Fantastic. Thank you. And admin? Not sure who you are. It's come at a pivotal time when you need to prove the value of your projects. Oh, Denise, thanks. Yeah, okay. So I'll move on then. How are MERIs being used? There are examples from natural resource management, from caring for country. I found one related to bushfire management, New South Wales conservation, and Australian business volunteers. You can see my image there, the perfect solution, and we're all wanting the perfect solution. But let's just have a look at some of these. I'll need to stop sharing and then go to some tabs I have on my internet browser. So just give me a minute and feel free to add any more questions or chats. Okay. Alrighty, I'm sharing again. So you should be seeing now, this is the New South Wales Government's Evaluation Toolkit page, and their policy is round about here. The toolkit looks more exciting than the policy. Here's the policy. And there are evaluation guidelines. And good practice principles. Evaluations should be built into program design, etc., etc. So I'll take you through some of these other MERI frameworks now. This is the Australian Government's Natural Resource Management, NRM, MERI framework, 2009. So here's the contents page, and I just wanted to show you what people put into their contents. An introduction section, a bit of context, and under context you've got program logic and something about adaptive management. I'll try and make that a bit bigger. How's that? So we're looking here at the program logic, what monitoring and evaluation and reporting and improvement mean for NRM. Some assets and indicators, And you can download this document for yourself. Data management guidelines, I can certainly send you the links. Data collection methods, data management guidelines. So there's only 4 main sections: an introduction, the context with program logic, and I should show you the program logic. So just bear with me while I flip to page 10. So here's the program logic. This is the ultimate goal: conserve, repair and replenish Australia's natural capital. And then longer term outcomes, intermediate outcomes, and the foundational activities. You'll notice they've got objectives, partners and stakeholders, building MERI skills and resources, roles and responsibilities. So have a look at different examples and get ideas. This one's actually got key steps in developing a MERI plan, okay? And that will help you to see how that relates to your situation. I can't prescribe for you what would work in your situation. And here's the program logic. A generic outcomes hierarchy, fairly similar to what I showed you. Okay. Here's the National Landcare Program Monitoring Evaluation Framework. And there's lots of documents to download there. And Caring for Country. Again, introduction, purpose, principles and key evaluation questions. They didn't have that in the other one. Implementing the MERI funding recipients, Australian government, and a MERI toolkit. This is a really good example to look at in more detail. And I think because we can't look at too much in detail here, it's important that you know that it's there and have a look at it. I'll talk more about the different specifics. This is the bushfire monitoring evaluation MERI. And again, you can see a bit of an introduction and the key elements. So principles, program logic again, models and assumptions, key evaluation questions, how they're going to monitor, how they're going to evaluate and report, and the continuous improvement. How they're going to apply the framework, something about data management, capability, quality assurance. Some of the topics and headings are the same, some of them are different. This is Conservation, New South Wales. They don't seem to have a contents page. Okay, but they do have, sorry, this must be very disturbing, how they're going to apply the framework to site managed species conservation projects. Different again. This is the Australian Business Volunteers framework. And this is the diagram, they say, for their framework. And that's all it is. It isn't even a document. So that's very different again. Okay, I'm just going to come back to my PowerPoint now. Okay, so you can see there are many different ways of doing it, but there are some consistent topics. This was the Australian Business Volunteers. And as I just said, it's just a diagram, but there is a logic flow to it. And they claim that this is their monitoring, evaluation, reporting, improvement strategy. And this is one way that they show their data, which is quite different and often more interesting than showing data in any other ways. It's like an infographic presentation. This is when I look at this, I kind of think, well, it is possible to make evaluation sexy. And then I've worked on one for Southern Cross University and also the Archibald Prize. And I can quickly show you how they look, but I'm going to need to stop sharing again. Okay. So this is Southern Cross University, diversity and equity. I'm sorry, I'm just going to make this one-page view. And primarily to show you the headings that I used. So again, the purpose and objectives, something about the programs. One was called Uni Bound and the other one was called Uni Mentor. A description of the program logic model for both of those programs and how we're going to monitor and evaluate the plan and report and communicate the plan. Some scope, limitations and risks, ethical considerations, and a learning and development plan because we recognise that staff would be involved in learning and needed to develop some skills. This is the Archibald Prize one, and you can see I've kind of standardised it to purpose and objectives of the Archibald Prize and of the monitoring and evaluation plan, how the Archibald Prize works, that's the outcomes hierarchy and the program logic, and key evaluation questions and how they relate. So I'd just take a moment to talk about key evaluation questions. You need to ask yourselves what is it that we really want to know? What are the real key questions? And then that overarches the monitoring and evaluation plan. There's a lot of questions that you could ask, but they're probably not as important as very specific ones about outcome, or are we actually getting people into the program to start with? I can't predict what you would like to know in your program. And I can see that you've been chatting and thinking about what I'm talking about. So I'm trying to cover the bases, and in a minute I'll have a moment to just look at your comments and see what it is that you've said. Okay. So this is just a note of caution from Albert Einstein. Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So if you could just remember that in the back of your minds, that often we go a bit crazy trying to count everything, and it's just kind of unnecessary busy work. But we really need to know, in terms of key evaluation questions, which data is worth counting, and then which data is too hard to count but also meaningful, and that's often the qualitative stuff. I can see that Erica's talking about providing a template. That's great. Okay, so similarities. Let's use the chat now for a bit of interaction. What similarities can you see between these examples? What differences can you see? What headings might be useful to you? If you're going to be writing your own monitoring and evaluation and reporting plan, yep, you need a template. And in my tips and tools, there is a bit of a template there. And I know that Erica's talking about a template. We all learn just in time because we're adult learners. So that's the great thing about having this program and this support. Yeah, knowing, so Adriana, knowing the long-term behaviour change is really tricky because you have to do follow-up with people, and often that's not funded. And it's the short-term evaluation that is funded. Does your project make a difference? Yep, that's a great resource. That's a booklet that was put out by the New South Wales EPO some time ago. Andy, the chats aren't working for you. Too slow. Okay. We could unmute and have a bit of a free-for-all. Could we do that, Erica? Maybe not. Add any questions in Q&A? Leonie's asked, do you know what software they use to generate the infographic? No, not at all. What does a typical MERI look like? So you've seen the different kinds of MERIs, and my best advice is there is no perfect solution, and make it fit for purpose and choose the headings that you feel would work for you. Oh, there's a whole lot of chats going on now. Okay. Infographics, helpfully only. So no perfect solution, a few different ways of getting through the maze of monitoring and evaluation. Keep calm, there is no perfect solution, and not one shoe fits all sizes. Here's a list that I've put together. It's kind of, you can pick and choose from. a bit of a situation statement, some description of the model, which is the program logic, key evaluation questions, the kind of evaluation that you're going to be doing. Is it a process evaluation or formative? Is it impact or outcome? The scope and limitations, what's going to limit what you can do, obviously resources, time, and then just what is it that you're going to evaluate. You can't evaluate everything. Choose the really, really critical stuff. Data sources and collection plan. I have a way of doing that, which is a bit of a matrix of where you would get the data from depending on who's in your program. And if you go to the Carbon Kids pilot evaluation on my website, that's a link in the tips and tools. You'll see in the appendices a very full template for all of that. The ethical considerations are often, oops, let's just go back. We'll poll in a minute. The ethical considerations are informed consent, privacy, confidentiality, making sure that the people, if you're doing surveys, know that they're not going to be identified. You know, if you're interviewing people, getting their consent for their information. Generally, the kinds of evaluations that you'll be doing are not going to be hurting anyone, hopefully not. So the risk around the ethics is minimal, but you need to know about these things. Products and reporting plan. Well, who's going to see the results of this? Surely the people who are participating in the program should see some results or some kind of report. They've provided you with information. Your funders will want to see it. Those are the kinds of things you write there. Budget and resources, just that early on question. How much am I going to commit to this? You will need to decide how much time. A risk analysis, what happens if you don't get the data that you're hoping for? It's pretty much the same as any project risk analysis. Who's going to manage and oversight the evaluation if you're contracting out certain elements of the evaluation? That's the evaluation project management and governance. A learning and development plan if you're actually training up staff and trying to build capacity and capability. And a communication plan that's, you know, who are you going to tell about these results? Who's going to know? So there's a question here, would I suggest developing a MERI template, your own MERI template, using it for different programs we deliver or cater to the specific project? I would suggest that you, thanks Lisa, I would suggest that you have a look at these headings, have a look at some examples and the ones that I've suggested, and decide for yourself which are relevant, and just kind of put information down through them. I'm wondering now if we can have a poll. I'm going to launch it in a second. And which of these headings would you consider essential to making a MERI for your project or program? We've got some of these topics in the poll, but not all of them. But let's just try launching this poll. And you should be able to see on your screen. Okay, so I'll just let that go for a bit. Yep. Here we go. Can everyone see that? The results of that? Erica? Can you see the results of this poll? going well. Lena, you can't see the results. Thank you. I can see against each of those points a blue bar growing significantly. I won't tell you which ones are bigger than the others. I'm sure when I hit end polling, we'll be able to get a result. So I'll just give you, we've had 17 people out of 32 voted. I'll give you a few more minutes. So now I can see that 20 out of 32 people have voted. I'm sorry I can't see all your faces or hear your comments. You can't use the poll or can't see the poll, Adriana. I think the poll, it should have popped up on your screen, or if you go to the bottom of your screen, you should be able to see a little poll icon that you can use. Try enabling pop-ups. Thanks. Thanks, Sierra. Okay. We've got 21 of 32 people. People are still polling and finding the polls. Unstable internet connections. Thanks, Angela. Never mind. Okay, I'm going to end the polling. That was about 3 minutes. And let's see if we get a result. Share results. Can you see those results? I've clicked share result. Has it come up? Yes, sure can. Okay, so most people said the key evaluation questions, and then a situation statement, description of the model or the logic, scope and limitations. Great. And our budget, resources and risk analysis, very high. Thank you. People are not that concerned about ethical considerations. It's not a big area, but it is an important area to mention. You don't have to say too much about it. It's pretty straightforward. Just that you will ensure people's privacy and confidentiality. Okay, is there a correct answer? I would say probably yes, that all of those things need to be covered, but that's my approach. You've seen from the examples in that I've shown you on the internet that different people choose different things. Okay, Angela, sorry, too windy and rainy out at just near Canberra. We'll see you. Thanks, Jules. You agree with me? They all need to be covered for a variety of reasons. I think it's up to you. And Erica's just mentioning that if your webinar functionality is limited, try closing all the programs you have on the rest of your computer, like Word. It might be straining your computer. Okay, we're going to stop sharing results now and go back to the PowerPoint. So just to reiterate, the program model idea using program logic, because you all, well, a lot of you, 67% agreed with me that that's a pretty fundamental thing. The situation analysis, this is a template if you like, and it's in your tips and tools handout. The short-term outputs, the observable changes and the big picture stuff. So why your program exists and where you got this knowledge from, and then what's your great hope and vision, and how does this fit to any strategic direction? Sometimes we forget that we operate in organisations that have umbrella strategies, and we're doing this stuff because of that umbrella strategy. So don't be afraid to use that as your big picture stuff. And, you know, where do these activities happen, and how and what? So this for me is really, this next section is the guts of the program logic matrix, expanding the success criteria, definitions and explanations, the factors that you can influence, the factors that the program can't influence, the activities that you're going to do to address achieving the success, column 2, and what you can influence, and program performance. I did show this quickly to you in the face-to-face. Okay, so we're at 4:30 and we've got a half hour. I thought I might just show you how this looks for Southern Cross University. Oh, sorry. So this is an example of a very big picture strategy. What they do in diversity and equity is we hope that all graduates are supported to get a tertiary qualification, and there are various support programs and pathways. I'm just scrolling through. So this is their outcomes hierarchy. The purple stuff at the bottom is what happens in schools to promote kids into university. Then they enter university, and then they try and keep them there and support them through participation and retention programs. But in terms of that whole outcomes hierarchy matrix, here's an example of the Uni Mentor program, which is what happens in the university to keep people there. So there's my outcome. Here are my success criteria and definitions, the factors that affect success, that the program can influence, the ones that they can't influence, and the activities to address those sorts of things. Again, if you go to the Carbon Kids pilot program evaluation on my website and download it, you'll find a very thorough example of this. It's far too detailed to go through now, and I wouldn't want to put you through that. So what's the best way of making a MERI? I would say collaboratively, and you can see I've spelt it incorrectly. Why collaborate? Because it builds commitment and ownership, and engages people on many levels, and enables them to bring all their different perspectives. So it's a conversation, just like developing a program logic is a conversation. I don't think that you can do it alone. You could probably draft something just with one or two people, but then I think it needs to go out to more stakeholders. And if you do that, then you've actually got implementation and buy-in already happening. And it's going to be so much easier because people will already know that they've worked in some way to develop the monitoring and evaluation and reporting framework. These are just some graphics I found about different ways of collaborating, and I thought, isn't that amazing? It's just hands and in different patterns, but shows all sorts of different ways of collaboration. And I like to think that we're creating the future we want today. And I'm not sure who said it, but I've been using this one for quite a long time. The future is not some place we're going to, it actually is now. Thanks, Adriana. Collaborate, agreed. This helps to get buy-in. And I'm sure you've had lots of experience gaining collaboration in a lot of the programs and projects that you've done. So a bit of a chat now. Have you been surprised by anything or excited by what you've heard? Are there any questions that you've got that you would like me to try and answer? Oh, interesting. Collaboration also results in a better program. I think so. I think the people who are going to be involved in the program and concerned about it can certainly help design it in much better ways. I wonder if anyone else has had experience or would like to add to that. Thanks, Adriana. Okay, so we're going to move into a bit of a wrap-up. And I'd like to show you the Better Evaluation website and also another website called Evaluation Toolbox. Let me see. So this is Better Evaluation. Oops. I think it's an amazing website. It's a collaboration of evaluation people, professionals from all around the world. And again, the evaluation societies have been pretty instrumental in getting this going. It's fairly new in that it's probably only been going for about 3 or 4 years, but it's an incredible repository. And so just Google Better Evaluation and you'll come up with this space. You can see here, start here, steps in planning and managing an evaluation. These are the typical steps that they recommend. So this isn't a monitoring, evaluation, reporting plan as such, but if you're commissioning an evaluation, these would be the typical steps. You'll notice here, scope the evaluation, the terms of reference, engage the evaluation team. A number of these things relate to what we're putting in the MERI anyway. So there's kind of lots of overlaps. Decide which evaluation method to use. I'll leave that for you to explore, and it's actually going to be part of our online forum through Facebook. So I'm going to ask you to have a look at this website and choose something from it and actually talk about it. And you can put the link in the Facebook forum of what you found. So there's amazing resources around evaluation options, evaluation approaches, both quantitative and qualitative, themes, different themes. Here's one about climate change, adaptation and mitigation. And I'm just going to show you the framework that they talk about, this rainbow framework. So each one of these rainbow colours has a different outline and support. Hopefully the language that I've given you in the face-to-face and today will help you to understand some of these things. In the purple section, I'm choosing purple because it's my favourite colour. There's advice on how to report your evaluations. Okay, now so that's an international website. The evaluation toolbox was developed in Victoria through a previous program, and it specifically relates to environmental projects. So it's called Community Sustainability Engagement, and you'll find a lot of useful information there. I'm just clicking on planning your evaluation, and they've also got videos. Okay. Yeah, the rainbow outline looks visually attractive. I don't know why they chose a rainbow. Yeah, the steps are in different colours. That's right, Sierra. They're the typical steps in an evaluation. If you have a look at what they say about monitoring, about MERI in better evaluation, there is a little item about that as well. So that's better evaluation and the evaluation toolbox. Great support. I'd just like to mention social software in evaluation. I've done evaluations where these have been components of the programs, and it was necessary to evaluate them and their effectiveness. So, and in particular, one program that I did for Western Sydney Regional Organisation of Councils, WESROC, called the Water in the Landscape program. And I'm just wondering how many of your programs have a social media component. So a quick chat, what's the role of social media in your project or your program? Is there a role that you're going to have to evaluate? Perhaps you can pop up some questions there while I show you this screen, which is the contents from the water in evaluation, water in the landscape evaluation. Okay, so you're using social media to promote your programs and sharing challenges and frustrations over lunch with Cultural Development Community Project Officer. Thanks, Denise. Nice to know that that was exciting to share the tools and tips. Kate's saying, yes, promotion is big, and audience reach, and assessing audience reach, yes. You might want to talk about how you do that and the social software analytics that are available to do that. Wendy, is this report available? Yes. Again, if you go to my website, it's one of the downloads. So you'll be able to see it there. You can see here these headings. Water in the Landscape had a number of components. It had a cultural projects component, forums, face-to-face forums, and this online information dialogue and exchange through a website, through an e-newsletter, a YouTube channel, Twitter and Facebook. And we certainly learned a lot about engagement, which I guess you're calling promotion in this context. And information, yes. Thanks, Alina. Okay. Any questions? If you've got the Q&A going. And we're almost out of time. We've probably got about 10 minutes to go. So we'll try and just do another quick poll and chat comments. So here's a poll. I'll just get it up. It's called Wrap Up. I'm going to launch it now. And the questions are, I now know what should be in a MERI, yes, no. I have some ideas about how to make a MERI, yes, no. I'm going to need some support to do one. And then a rating scale. How useful has today's webinar been? Oh, okay, we're getting some votes in. I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes for this. This is pretty quick and dirty evaluation, I must say. But often that's sufficient, isn't it? Just to give you a bit of an overview and lick about what's happening for your participants. So we've got almost half the votes in, and that's just over a minute. Thanks everyone, this is great. You'll notice in that scale question, how useful, I put the negative first. Not useful, somewhat useful, very useful, extremely useful. And that's because research shows that you should actually test people and get them to think about the answer. If you put the most positive first, you might even get like a donkey vote. So that's an issue to do with surveys. I know some of you are very capable with surveys, but there are tips and tricks around doing surveys too. And no one survey fits every situation. It has to be fit for purpose. Okay, we're 2.5 minutes in. And I'll just give you another half a minute to vote. And just on that point about making the positive response the most used one, I know I could be criticised for saying in those first 3 questions, yes first and no second. Okay, just a few more seconds and then I'll end the polling. And while we're just waiting for the last votes to come in the Q&A, or even just in the chat, what questions about making a MERI will keep you awake at night? Okay, I'm going to end the polling now and share the results. Okay, so the majority of people are saying, you know what should be in a MERI. That's great, 89%. And that you've got ideas about how to make a MERI, fantastic. Yes, I think we all need support to do one initially. If you've never done one before, that's quite reasonable. And overall, this has been very useful and extremely useful. So, and even somewhat useful. And no one said not useful at all. So I'm pleased about that. But please feel free to be frank and fearless. I'd rather know than not know. Okay. Any other comments about today? And what would have made the session even better for you? I know I asked you that at the end of the face-to-face session. So perhaps you could put some comments in the chat. What would have made it even better? I can see that there's lots of great comments around the social media involvement in your programs. Woo, you've been busy. Okay. Great. Lisa, I still think that the issue of measuring long-term behaviour change is so important. I agree with you, Lisa. I feel like I spend a lot of time doing evaluations to make granting bodies happy, but it doesn't tell me what I really want to know. And that's hard to balance out what you have to actually report on and what you can, what is the most useful for you. Sierra is saying re-evaluation design in business psychology, getting people to repeatedly say yes to things in order to develop a positive rapport and get people to say yes to things they might usually backwards about. That's interesting psychology. Okay. I can't see any comments about what would make it better for you. I would have liked to have seen a framework toolkit and then the resulting MERI developed using that framework toolkit. I know. That's a really tricky one. Because the examples that I showed you are they're available in the public domain. The examples that I've done are not available in the public domain, and I felt they were too complex for your situations, or kind of different and tangential. So it's a very difficult area to try and really nail. Okay, Erica's talking about doing one on a limited budget. Yes, thanks, Sierra. It would have been good to see the projects you're actually doing and structure the examples, linking back to what we're familiar with. Totally agree. And maybe the support that you get, the mentoring that you get from now on will help you. Thanks for that comment, admin. I'm not sure who you are. You're happy with what we've covered and keen to explore. Oh, Denise, sorry. Okay, great. So here's an image about collaboration. Erica, your work on doing this, showing a case study from start to finish. Fantastic. All right. I'm pretty well done. If we've probably got about 3 more minutes. Great. Oh, here's Erica. So my parting comment is, again, that quote from Ban Ki-moon: if we can't all swim together, we will sink, and there is no plan B because there is no planet B. So this is my overarching vision or goal, if you like, and my ultimate outcomes hierarchy, greater collaboration. So thank you everyone for your patience while I swapped screens and showed you far too much detail, but I sincerely hope that this has been useful. Thanks, Erica.
Thanks, Larraine. I found it very helpful and very useful, and thank you to everyone for chatting so much. I think the conversations that have been going on in the background, Larraine, have been very helpful, and we will we'll work on getting a case study to you guys. Maybe we will do another short webinar. But I certainly have an environmental aid project that I worked on for 7 years, from start to finish, which monitored long-term behaviour change and demonstrated that. So perhaps I'll see who would like to listen to a very short webinar about that, or we'll get that information to you somehow, because, yeah, I agree. A tangible case study is really helpful for those people who are new to it all. So thank you to everyone for participating today, and please, I would encourage you to use our Facebook forum. Think of the Facebook forum as an extension of the chats we've been having today. You're all really engaged and using this technology really well. So let's keep that happening with the Facebook group. because it's your group, it's private, it's just like this. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group yet, I'd really strongly encourage you to do that, because the more you guys put into this and the more we all collaborate, the more everyone will learn from this process. So the webinar has been recorded, and I will host the link, the YouTube link tomorrow on the forum, and I'll also share those resources that Larraine was talking about. So thank you, everyone. I will end the recording now. And thanks again, Larraine. That was great. Larraine is going to be sharing us on the online forum. So I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any questions you have, you know, in the next couple of weeks while you're all thinking about evaluation. And don't forget that we have our next webinar in December. And if you are, another advantage of using the Facebook page is that it's got all of the webinar events listed on there, so that you can accept and say that you're going to that event, and then you'll be reminded if you use Facebook. And that next webinar is on Thursday the 8th of December at 3:30 again, and that's with Laura Hamilton from the Centre for Sustainability Leadership. So she's going to continue on the topic of collaborative leadership, and I think leading for collaboration, and she'll be looking at the showing you the Leadership Rewired online tool, which is a really great resource. So thanks again, everyone.